Are you struggling in business? Are you struggling with some of the things that you look at on a day-to-day basis? Is it hard to get momentum in business? Is it difficult for you to streamline your growth? Maybe, just maybe, you have too many plans. In this video, I'm going to talk about what it is to have a plan A, to focus on a plan A, to drive a plan A, and to crush your goals with one plan. And hopefully, this brings value to you and simplifies your process. Whenever you're locked in on a goal, you have a vision in mind, you have one thing you're going after, you got to understand the moment you start to do that, not only do other things pop their head into the screen, some of them get enticing, and then sometimes we have these brains that want to chase other things while we're trying to chase this goal. So we stack up not only a plan A, we stack up a plan B, sometimes a plan C, sometimes a plan D, and I know that all too well. I'm going to discuss some things today that kind of talk about how to avoid that, but I'm also going to get into, why is it important to stay on plan A? Because the idea behind having, number one, an all-in mentality is huge, because once you start pushing everything you have behind one thing, it starts to create a force. The force doesn't necessarily create momentum right away, but it locks everything into where you're going. You wake up, you're thinking about that thing. Throughout the day, you're pushing, prodding, poking that thing. At bed, when you go to bed, you're you're dreaming about that thing. And all these, that's massive when you're trying to put something into play. When you think about a plan B, think about a plan C, believe it or not, we talk about, you must have 7 streams of income, or you need to have a multiplicity of things going on, or diversified portfolio. That's all cute, nice coach speak to young people who don't know any better. If I can be straight up honest with you, you need to get focused on one thing and pound it. That's how you're gonna grow. All the other stuff is after you hammer one thing. And we'll get into all of that and what that all means. But an all-in mentality allows you ever seen at Vegas or in the casino where people move all their chips into the middle of the table? You ever heard the phrase, all in? Well, all in means hook or crook, we can't lose. Like, I'm putting everything in the middle of the table because I have confidence that I can win. And so when you decide to do that, it changes the game. When I was trying to find my footing in business and I was trying to figure out what was for me, I had multiple things going on. I literally had multiple different things going on. I was in the mortgage business. I was dabbling in real estate investing, and I was renting real estate properties for investors that I knew. I was in the credit repair business. Somehow that business tied back to all these businesses. I was also in the MLM business. And, at the end of the day, all that was nice and cute. And it looked like I had a lot going on. What I was really hoping was that one would spring off and turn into my plan A. Here's the problem. I wasn't focused on plan A. I was focused on plan everything, right? And so as all that stuff is diverting attention and taking time and moving your thoughts towards it, you're actually losing in the thing that has the potential to do the best or the potential to win. How do you figure out what that thing is when you may not know? When you talk about passion and the things that you're fired up about, these are the things that you start to do. Do you have a vision for this thing? Does this wake you up in the middle of the night? Does this get your juices going? Does this light your furnace? Let's load up on that thing. Can it create income? Can it create consistent income? Can it put you in a position, if you put force behind it, where it could explode and grow? You have to know these things, but if you do, that represents an all-in mentality. What I did when I was masquerading around with all these different things, I had 5 or 6 different things going on. There was no way I could dial attention to one single thing, because each one of those things had a calendar. Each one of those things needed attention. Each one of those things had a back office. Each one of those things needed someone to man something. Each one of those things needed clients. Like, you go, well, the mortgage client and the real estate client and the renting client and the credit repair client, aren't they kind of the same? Sorta, but it doesn't kind of work like that. You know, if I would have put all my energy into one thing, it would have boomed faster. What I learned is being the jack of all trades taught me how to be the master of no money. And I'd love to help you avoid that. And so let's go to two. Two is avoid the shiny object syndrome. Somebody always has a business opportunity for you. Somebody, whether on LinkedIn, whether on Instagram, whether your friend from high school, whether your roommate from college, whether it's someone you meet at Starbucks, someone always has an opportunity for you. Are you married? Do you have kids? Are you involved in your community? You have stuff outside of business. You got to figure this thing out. But there's always a shiny object. You know, some of my staff like to refer to it as squirrel. Squirrel runs by. Every time you see a squirrel, you squirrel. And you just move to the squirrel. And it's like, okay, well, if you do that, it's going to be difficult to get momentum in anything. Because every single time something shiny comes by, you go, that's so nice. If I can dial it into one stream, right? So if I just look at Medicare, okay? In Medicare or healthcare, in healthcare, there's long-term care, there's Medicare, there's ACA, which is Affordable Care Act, there's all these different avenues that you can decide to go into to try to help the marketplace. Here's the problem. You can't be productive at all three at the same time, strong enough to drive force. You go, it's all healthcare. I go, you know better than that. Because the reality is it's not streamlined enough. It's not dialed in enough. Find the thing that lights you on fire. Get real narrow on what it is so you don't keep having the squirrel syndrome, because all of it is trying to do everything sounds noble. And they're always all good things. These are good things. Problem is you can't do everything. So you kind of got to figure it out. Number three, having one plan creates confidence. There's nothing like confidence in business. There's nothing like being able to stand tall in your product, stand tall in your service, stand tall in your process, stand tall in your systems, stand tall with your people. You gotta have confidence. And again, diverting attention never really drives the kind of confidence you're looking for. When you have confidence on your process, you have confidence, you know how to make money, you know how to get a check, you know how to do these things, you're much better off. Back in the day when I was in the mortgage business, the whole world collapsed financially in 2008, and I wanted to get out of that business so bad. And I wanted to get out of business a lot of times, so you might have heard some of this story. But I remember trying so many different things. And I diverted a lot of attention. I didn't have confidence in anything I was doing. Like, I didn't stand tall in confidence in anything I was doing. And then so I searched my soul, and I remembered the thing that I had the most confidence in, knew how to get a check, knew how to deliver a service, was the mortgage business. So I ended up getting back in the business because I needed to have, you can't understand the value of confidence. That doesn't mean you need to do things you don't want to do. I didn't want to do mortgages. This is where I had the most confidence, but I needed to bridge confidence to get to somewhere else. And so sometimes you'll go backwards to go forward, or you just know where you're going. But if you know where you're going, confidence. Having one plan creates an insane, sticking to plan A creates an insane amount of confidence. Number four, it simplifies decision making. You know, what happens in decision making is a lot of it has compounding effects. And so one decision leads to another decision, leads to another decision, and all these decisions are impacting each other like a domino. And as you start to focus your energy in plan A, not plan B. Sometimes I talk to people that, you know, we end up getting into business together and I go, what's your plan B? Because I want to hear. Well, you know, I thought about, you know, maybe I'll, you know, start a painting and sip business. Okay. Well, maybe I thought about, I love cameras and I love being a photographer. And so if this doesn't work out, I'll just kind of go back to photography. Why don't you pack your bags and go back to photography now? That's what you just told me. And when you say that you have a plan B, you don't have a plan A. Because you can never laser-like focus. You're not gonna simplify your decision-making. You're actually making it more complicated. Why? Because it doesn't compound the same. If I take money and I put it into a fund and the fund is growing like crazy, if I take money out of that fund, it does shock the growth. It's not the same growth. It doesn't have the same momentum. It doesn't have the same speed trajectory. It doesn't have the same compounding effect. That's what you're essentially doing every time you go to your plan B. Now, let's say you have a job and the job is one that you're kind of rolling in, but your plan B is at night, or your plan A is at night. Cool, that's different. When we're talking about, hey, I'm a business owner and I have 2 or 3 different businesses, none of them got rolling yet. So believe me, if you got a business that's rolling and you're starting another business, I'm not talking to you. It's provided that that business is truly rolling. It's rolling, you have a system, you have process, you have people, they're running it, it's smooth. And I'm not saying you're not involved. I'm just saying, I'm talking to the person that thinks it's a cool idea to not simplify decision making. And so when you have one thing, you also get stronger at what you're doing, so it makes decision making more simplistic. And so when your brain cells are operating at a higher vibration, higher capacity, it's a different ball game, folks. And so that's what I'd like for you to see in number 4. And number 5, which kind of really brings out your ability to truly know your industry, know your game, know your situation, is the power of 10,000 hours in any one thing. The reason plan A is so important and all the other plans are trash is because you've got to get 10,000 hours in a thing. You've got to be willing to have the time in the market so that 1, you make better connections, so that 2, people know where to find you, so that 3, people know who you are, so that 4, you know who you are, so that 5, you know your process, so that 6, you can continue to optimize your situation, your product, your process, your business, your company. You start to stack things on top of things. We've been serving in the local community of our business for years, to the point where we've kept a lot of the same partners in the community that we go serve. They know who we are. They know what we represent. We don't change the business every 6 months and say, new business, but we're here. They know who we are. They know what we represent because we have time in the market. And you want to have time in the market. When you have time in the market, you have a different kind of compounding effect. And that's the kind of compounding effect that's a multiplier. We're not just playing addition anymore. Now we're multiplying because everything is coming together. If you have a certain type of business, we do a lot of content. So I have a really good idea how to find people that are creators. But if I didn't do content, I probably wouldn't have a good idea. And when I started to do content, I'd have no idea. And so what made me get an idea? Doing it. Time in the market, interviewing people, bringing people in, seeing them grow. What is their trajectory? What do they want? Identifying because of hours. Really not because of anything else. The hours are giving me intellect. The hours are giving me vision. The hours are giving me the ability to see. And so for you, I don't see it any differently. I see it as your ability to find the thing, find the plan A, bathe in it, soak in it, put the time in, figure out how you're going to maneuver. By the way, who do you need to meet in your industry? Who are the A players? Who do you need to get around? What conferences do you need to attend? People are going to be introducing themselves to you the more you're in the market. You're going to be meeting new people. You're going to go to dinners where you're getting introduced to people you haven't met before because you're doing this thing. This thing is really important for you. It is your business. It is your plan A. And I say to you today, all the other plans don't belong, period. Plan A belongs. Plan A is how you're gonna get ahead. Plan A is how you're gonna be laser focused when chasing goals. Maybe you suffer from the shiny object syndrome before. I certainly have. Maybe you haven't put 10,000 hours into a thing. Maybe you have. You know, if you have, I'd love for you to kind of comment on and talk to the community about what you're doing, how you've done it. Maybe you haven't and you realize that these stumbling blocks of plan B, C, D, E, F aren't going to help you get to where you want to go. But if you can subscribe to the channel, that'll allow us to continue to deliver value to you on demand.